world, this is Krista from Books and Jams here with my highlights and lowlights from May, along with my May reading wrap-up. Alright, I'm excited that I read 8 books this month, but before I get into the books that I read, I just wanted to go over a couple of the highlights and lowlights from this month. I kind of bookended the month with 2 little vacations. At the beginning of May, I traveled to Virginia to visit a good friend of mine in Richmond, and then my cousin and her husband in Charlottesville. Right after I came home from Virginia, I was able to participate in my library book sale and added to a huge haul, which you may have already seen, of books that I purchased this month, all from thrift stores while in Virginia and from the library book sale, and a couple that were sent to me. So that was a definite highlight because new books are always fun. At my church, we had a graduation night for the 5th graders, 8th graders, and 12th graders, and I'm in charge of the kids program, so it was a little bit bittersweet, but it was definitely a highlight to honor the 5th graders that I work with and to see them growing and moving on to the next stage in church. Then I traveled home for about 4 days. My brother graduated with his associates. He has some medical issues and has been persevering for years, and we're super proud of him. And so we went out to hibachi and laser tag, which was a lot of fun. And also while I was home, I was able to visit another good friend and another cousin. Yeah, I just love being able to travel and visit people. I guess that's one of the perks of being single. All right, some lowlights from the month. There weren't too many lowlights this month, but I had 2 toothaches this month, and those are just not fun. And along with that, I also had a cleaning at the dentist, which is also just not fun. I was sick for almost a week in May. I'm still at the tail end of that. Okay, and now on to the reading wrap. I read 8 books this month, which is kind of a lot, but 4 of those were audiobooks because I did so much traveling. I was able to listen to a number of audiobooks this month, which was a lot of fun. So I will start with those. The first one that I listened to was The Diviners by Libba Bray. I don't know how I feel about this book. It was definitely out of my comfort zone. I don't typically like books that deal with the occult or paranormal in any way, and this one was. I loved the setting. It was set in New York City in the 1920s, and it's about a girl named Evie, and she gets sent to live with her uncle in New York City. I did like the storyline. I did get sucked into what was going on. It was a little bit slow. I did not like the language. Evie would add ski at the end of things, book ski. It just got really irritating to me, but I enjoyed it. Overall, I gave it 3 stars. I definitely recommended it to a friend who I know likes those kinds of books, but I just don't think it's for me. The second audiobook that I read this month is 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher, and this was heartbreaking. The story is that a boy named Clay receives a set of tapes which he learns are narrated by a girl that he had a crush on, Hannah, who recently had committed suicide. And these tapes explain the 13 reasons that were the reasons why she felt that that was what she needed to do. And it was just heartbreaking how people treated each other. And it's just, I guess it was heartbreaking because it's so realistic at times. Yeah, it just, the whole book just made me very sad. I rated it 4 stars because it felt so realistic to me. The loneliness, the way that we don't often think about the actions and the words that we say, how they affect other people, and the kind of the trickle effect from the things that we say and do. And it just made me want to think about that more, how the interactions that I have with people. The third audiobook I read on my way to New York to visit my mom was The Siren by Kira Cass. And as I listened to it, I just felt like I had read this before, and I did. I'm not sure. I think it was in 2014. I did love Colin is the girl in the story. She's on a ship that sinks. As she's drowning, cries out to live, and the ocean saves her, and she becomes a siren. She has to give 100 years of working as a siren to the ocean, and then she can live her life freely after that. I loved the relationship that's built between Colin and the other 3 siren sisters, and with the ocean, who is kind of like a mother to her. Yeah, it was very interesting. It was very sweet. I didn't feel very strongly about it one way or another. I did give it 4 stars. I found it entertaining, and it passed the time as I drove to New York. The fourth audiobook that I listened to this month was Night by Elie Wiesel, and I actually do have a hard copy of Night. This is the only 5-star read that I have from this month. This little tiny book was super heavy for me. As you may already know, I love historical fiction set during World War II, and this is a memoir set during World War II. Elie Wiesel actually was a young boy who experienced concentration camps firsthand and the ghetto in his Hungarian town. It hit me harder than most fiction books do because of the reality of it. And I think but when you're reading a fiction book, you understand that it's fiction, but this was so real and heart-wrenching, and I really appreciated his honesty about the questions that came up for him about his faith and about his relationship with his father, and just the honesty of his emotions, and the relief he would feel about horrible situations. And I don't know, I just really appreciated his honesty, but it was hard. It was heavy hitting. I couldn't even cry because I just was thinking about it so much. I really respect him, and I was really glad that I read this month. It was my favorite read of the month. All right, now for the hard copy books that I have 5 of them. This is a total change from Night, but at the beginning of the month, I read Anna and the French Kiss, and I only gave this 3 stars. This is a very, very popular book on BookTube. I flew through it. It's not tiny. I did read it very quickly, and I enjoyed the story overall. I could relate to it because I also lived away from home my senior year of high school. I was not forced to, I chose to. So there was a little difference in that, and I was definitely not in another country. I was just in another city about an hour and a half away. But the story is Anna gets put into a boarding school in France by her parents for the cultural experience for her senior year of high school. She makes some great friends, and one of them is Etienne St. Clair, and she develops romantic feelings for him and he for her, and they build on this friendship throughout the book. And it's sweet, it's light, but the major problem that I have with it is that whole time he has a girlfriend, and that might be spoiler. I should probably put that first. Spoilers, potentially. Etienne has a girlfriend the whole entire time that he is spending more and more time with Anna, and nobody really says anything about that. They just kind of accept it, and he always shows up where she is, and they spend lots and lots of time together and begin a connection with each other while he has a girlfriend. And that just didn't sit well with me through the whole book. That every time they would talk or hang out, I was like, hold on, what about the girl? I just don't like that. I think Anna deserves better. I think women in general deserve better than a guy who is connected elsewhere. But it's a sweet story. It's an easy read, light, cute. I only gave it 3 stars. Next, I read The Secrets of Midwives, and I thought this was a beautiful story. It's about 3 women, a grandmother, a mother, and the daughter, who are all midwives. Beautiful story of family, the women in this family, their connections with each other, and how they grow, how they have had secrets that get revealed as the book goes on, and they grow closer in the midst of that instead of push each other away. I really enjoyed it. The pacing was really quick. It didn't take me very long to read. It was a beautiful story. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Also this month, I read Goosegirl, which I had to return to the library, so I'll put the picture up here. What a sweet fairy tale this was. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's about a girl named Ani who, as a child, learns to speak with animals from her aunt and loves her aunt, and they have a very close relationship, but unfortunately doesn't learn very easily how to connect and talk with other people. So that comes to kind of not haunt her, but comes to be a problem as she is the oldest daughter and is kind of engaged to be married off to the son, the prince of the neighboring country. So on the way to this neighboring country, there's a mutiny with one of her ladies in waiting, and she is unable to convince the people to stay with her because she has a hard time with words. They arrive in this new land, and she ends up being a... I read Court of Thorns and Roses, which again was totally out of my normal wheelhouse. I enjoyed the second half. It took me a long time to get into it. I did like the Beauty and the Beast retelling part of it. This is about a girl named Farah who accidentally kills a fairy thinking it's a wolf. She gets taken to the fairylands and things happen from there. One of my favorite parts of this was the relationship growth between her and her sisters. I thought that was really cool. It was a very, very minor part of the book, but I really liked that. Definitely not a YA. I think it's in the YA section. Yeah, it's in the YA section, but I would definitely call this new adult or adult. It gets a little romancy, steamy at a couple parts. I do hear that A Court of Mist and Fury, that's the second book, I hear that that's much better than this one, so I probably will read it, but I only gave this 3 stars. Wasn't really my cup of tea. And finally, I read a nonfiction book, Love Does by Bob Goff. Loved him. I feel like you're just sitting in the living room having a chat as I read this. A lot of stories, a lot of real life experiences that he has been on as a father and as a lawyer and as the Ugandan consulate, which is kind of random, but his whole premise is that we as Christians and followers of Jesus often spend more time studying Jesus's words and the Bible and going to church, but not really putting what we're learning into action and not really truly loving the people around us. That love doesn't need to be always in a grand gesture, but can also be just the little things. I gave Love Does 4 stars. All right, that is it for my highlights and lowlights and my my May wrap up. I will be soon posting a June TBR, and I would love to hear in the comments below if you've read any of these, what your thoughts were, if you felt the same way I did about any of them, and maybe what you read this month that you really enjoyed. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Comment, like, and subscribe. Bye.